like CDS is coming to BC finally,
It
right?
is, yes. We will see this in the fall. Unfortunately, I can't get my hands on that preview yet, but the feature is being released with the fall release, and that's probably the highlight of the BC Wave 2. Now, there's a lot of feature functionality coming, but that's really the big one.
That's the big one. Okay.
Yep. And I think, unfortunately, it's a back end change, so I don't know if it's going to be a big wow for end users necessarily, but long term for the application, it's a significant update.
Yeah, and CDS, I mean, example, we had an opportunity that we were working on just recently for the Universal Resource Scheduler, that I think even on the last stream I may have mentioned and shown at a high level. I
Yep.
mean, CDS is just the easiest way to integrate a lot of those capabilities, building out new fresh entities, adding them to a solution, adding a Canvas app. I mean, even internally, Eric Newell, our CEO, we're working on like a time entry application, and basically we're talking through all the different touch points that we're going to have with it, but we're able to do it all in CDS. We were able to build a solution inside of there to tackle the Canvas model driven entities, the custom connector to connect to the Graph API. It's
Yep.
pretty amazing what they've
Yep.
gotten done here so far. So
Yeah. It's really good. It's very good.
So I guess same format as before. I will not have the wows at the end of this. I think the wows are going to come with both Marcus and Adam throughout this presentation today. But I guess, Marcus, what I can do is kind of share my screen, and then we can start going through the content that you have and have some
All
fun
right.
with it.
Sounds
So
good.
let me flip over. Hopefully, guys on chat, audio is okay. Music isn't too loud. Everything is great. You're eating your lunch, enjoying
Your hoagie.
your hoagie. Your hoagie. Not your po' boy. Not your catfish po' boy. Stay away from
Oh.
him.
No, I had reheated Chinese. It's just
Thanks,
the
Prit.
more you talk about it, Adam, the better. I'm really hungry now. Sesame chicken in the microwave at 11 o'clock just doesn't cut it anymore.
No, it does not. All right,
All right.
Business Central
I'm
Wave 2. You got a PowerPoint. Look at this.
I do.
So
So,
prepared.
I
I
know.
got burned last time, so that I'm never gonna let that happen
And
again.
I've got just the web. I'm going to go through the features on the web page. You're making me look bad.
All right. Well, hopefully we don't all hit it at the same time because we'll be here for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so they've broken this across the board, a bunch of different sections. So I'm just gonna kind of just jump through these. I'm not gonna hit every point. I'm gonna hit some more specific points. Deprecation of the help server. I don't know if that's that big deal. This next one, improved overview of management of available database and file capacity. They make this a feature. The reality is that Microsoft is going to start capping the amount of data that you can have in Business Central, and this is a quote unquote feature release. The reality is that unlimited data is no longer an option with Business Central. So 80 gigabyte database capacity, and then they're going to start charging you for it. So nice feature release. Not my favorite, probably. Most clients, it's not theirs either.
We have been, I want to say something on to the viewers. This has been a common problem that we've started to see more and more often as we've been going through this cloud evolution. And it, right or wrong, like you've got to pay for storage, right, at some capacity with it, and I understand that because people are taking full videos, like multi-gigabytes, and uploading it to Business Central for free storage, right? I mean,
processing power, even but a couple of years ago when they started setting the stage for noisy neighbor API throttling.
Yep.
So
Yep, that
if
was
you're on,
CE. Yep.
so we had to, and it is driving toward a better vision in my eyes. But you look at some of our customers and some people that are very heavily reliant on, plugins and some of those fun extensions that are eating up a lot of those resources. They had to address that as we scale to this do all, be all, no cliffs power platform. There are some concessions we have to make. That's the reality of it.
Part of it. And the big thing with this is that on the F&O side, or the finance and supply chain management, we've started seeing that introduction as well. Like in the licensing guide, it technically states now that there are space requirements and fees for space, just like within the CE environment. And they're even doing more than that. An example is like with the asset management capabilities. If you're on stream and you're looking at the new EAM, or what they used to call DynaWave's enterprise asset management capabilities, you license that in by asset. So 100 assets you get for free, and then you buy 100 asset packs for $100, up to 50 asset packs. So if you have 100,000 assets, you pay $5,000 a month on just asset count, not on data, not on anything else. So there's probably going to
Right.
be some concepts that they're going to start introducing that we're going to have to watch because quite frankly, we've been saying go to CDS for the data, and Microsoft's like, oh, CDS, we know where we can make some money off of it because those
This
charges are going
consumption
up.
model is fantastic.
Exactly.
I mean, it is. So it is. I want to be very
Yeah.
clear about that. Like, having n number of environments and your own playground to do what you want, configuration proof build, that is amazing. So our emphasis, our priority now in taking a look at licensing and cost and scalability and just the raw data that we're housing, because it's in the consumption model, we have to be mindful of certain things now.
Yep.
Yep.
So sorry to take you off track, Marcus.
No,
all
that's
that
okay.
came from the size, right? Because I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people are, they're like, come on. Like, I think there's going to be some pushback with this as well, and there'll be some balancing, but just get ready for it, guys. It's coming.
Yeah, and I think the clients that are going to be impacted first are ones that do document attachments and embed those into the database. So if you're a client that's doing that, we can there's some free apps that we can download that can leverage SharePoint data storage. So getting those file attachments out of the system is a pretty easy way to start limiting data.
Yeah, and
All
start
right,
strategizing on other ways to store data, right? So
Yeah.
binary, so using Active Directory, not ADFS, excuse me, but ADLS for the data lake services. I mean, that's where we start looking at the price per gigabyte that's being used on that. It's like 2 cents versus $10 per month, for example, on CDS. So start thinking about those concepts because your offline data you're going to want to store in one of those services that's designed for blob storage compared to storing it inside of a database.
Yep. All right. Some authentication on the API is kind of a back-end thing. Unlimited number of production and sandbox environments. So that's kind of a big change in terms of a admin management kind of thing. I like this next one, manage irreversible features. So there's warnings prior to turning some features on. So if you're new to Business Central, there are some flags that people can flip and you can't unflip them during the setup. So you get some warnings now that says, hey, you can't undo these features. Some read-only for frequently used reports. Again, if you've got large data sets, that's an important thing.
That's kind of nice for the larger sites too, because that read-only replica for reports. I mean, I know some of our NAV 2009 clients, one of our bigger ones, for example, we created a whole read-only replica through SQL Server High Availability, and they use that for reporting, and it really does help with large site reporting and performance. So that's really cool to see.
Yep. So that's a good performance one. Okay, on the application side, Company Hub extension. I love this one. So if you've got multi-company or even multiple environments, so I think we're seeing more people where I need access to different environments for localization purposes, or again, just multi-company. Being able to navigate across companies is going to switch. So that's a good thing. That reporting unit cost is kind of a no-brainer stuff. Some tracking information is going to automatically show up on these documents, posted documents, instead of having to modify the page to get those fields on there.
Okay.
Continual bank reconciliation improvements. It's interesting how Microsoft adds a feature with bank rec every single time. To anybody that's not using bank rec, it's a huge time saver. I think Business Central does a great job with bank rec, but they're adding a feature to be able to cancel a posted bank rec, which is really an interesting concept. To be able to cancel a posted transaction, that runs contrary to really how Business Central has been initially set up. So I like that feature. So we'll see how that works out. Consolidation support to Dynamics 365 Finance, and I cut it off, supply chain management. So you're going to be able to consolidate across the platforms, which is that's an interesting feature.
Oh, so wait, let me understand that. Is that for the consolidations, company consolidations?
Yeah, we're actually going to be able to generate a consolidation file that finance and supply chain management can read.
Okay, that's really cool because we've talked about the hub and spoke model in the past where, you'd have your larger companies that would be running finance or supply chain management, right? But then at the
Yes.
same point, some of the other organizations, they really don't need that depth or those capabilities. And even the
Yep.
implementation costs, like of
Yeah. The
finance,
cost is a big
right?
factor.
Four
Yep.
times the cost is kind of the general industry term for it at this point. That's actually a pretty cool thing to see.
Yep. Yep. So that's a cool one coming. All right, auto resolve CDS conflicts. That's just more common data service stuff. Check financial journals in the background. This is another feature that I really like. So if you're accustomed to Business Central, you know that data validation happens at the time of posting. So if I'm missing, let's say, a dimensional value or something like that, I don't really know until I attempt to post the transaction that I have a problem. So what they're doing is they're actually starting to do some of that error checking, and that those error messages or incomplete setup or something like that is going to show up in a fact box on the right side. So this is starting with general journals or financial journal transactions. But I think it's really in response to, well, I need more real-time data validation instead of just it happening at posting time. So that's a cool feature. Enhanced email capabilities. That's kind of, I don't know. There's some other, again, additional documents that they're going to auto email. It's interesting. Improvements in the WIP posting and general ledger with jobs. This is way past due. So hopefully we're going to see some nice features in there. I was unable to get to some details,
Details
but
of it. Okay.
yeah, but any feature enhancements at this point are absolutely welcome.
Well, jobs needs an update. Jobs needs
Yes.
shipments. Jobs needs, tying into
Work
sales
orders.
orders and purchase orders, work orders, production. Like you can kind of do it, but I mean,
Yeah.
they if they can at least do that, they've got a pretty good system that can compete with more of that project-based work.
Yep. Yeah. Without needing enhancements.
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they restated this in a slightly different way. Notify users of high-risk changes again during setup. So looking at that, longer item references really deals with item cross-references. So they've extended those fields, which sometimes runs into a problem with clients because they want larger.
Yeah, we actually did run into that with one that we tried to do. They were a door hardware company, and they had item numbers and the cross-reference that exceeded the default value with it. So just really, really surprised.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, the current cross-reference field is shorter than the item number field, so they're extending that cross-reference. Recurring journals to do some auto-balancing by dimensions. Again, that's been so badly needed. Copy journal functions to post it. Let's see. Oh, control the date for reversing entries. Another just no-brainer thing that needed to be done. And then enhanced Word document layouts. So if you've got a report or let's say a document, let's say a pick list, for example, that's an RDL format by default. You can modify that report to include a Word template, but that's some work. Microsoft is just adding some Word templates to more documents, which is a good thing. Word templates are much easier to modify. Easier to choose the right role center. Again, enhancements around the role center. I'm an advocate for the role center. Long-term nav users kind of poo-poo me on that one, but I think it's really valuable to leverage the role center.
I love the analogy you gave with that, the reference poo-poo to it. Yeah, right? I mean, the thing that they need to figure out with the role center is allowing it to have end users flexibility to easily make changes to it. Like when we go to finance and supply chain, one of the really nice features of their dashboards and their workspaces is the fact that you can click on a list, take that saved view, and then save it as a tile. If they got to that where they could take a save view and just save it as a tile, I think that those role centers would just be so much more impactful.
Yeah. We can from the back end, it's a development exercise to
and
add
they can too, right?
And
through an extension, right? So
right.
It looks like
that's more work.
Dave, sorry, a little late here for this, but Insight Software Jet is ready to test and then roll out their Azure Data Lake solution, addressing the need for reduced database size in the ERP solution. That's awesome, Dave. Yep. So it sounds like there's others that are working on this as well to make it so that you're not going to have that. I know Click Dimensions is another one that we're going to be obviously having more conversations with at some level with it because they store quite a bit of data inside of our environment as well. So.
Yep.
Using contact mobile numbers and emails across the application. This continues to build upon what they're doing from the previous version. So you could have default documents with emails that were attached 2 versions ago, and the last version that finally got connected to real contacts that got set up. So continuing enhancements there, and then more template stuff, which is fine. All right, better with 365 Business Central in Teams.
Yes.
This is an awesome feature. So right now you can't in a Teams channel reference the the URL to a Business Central site. It does not allow you to do that. So they're finally opening this up so that we can put Business Central into a Teams. I just asked the question, we can pass record filters now into we could into the URL. So what I'm thinking is, let's say a direct access to a customer card inside of a customer Teams channel, or to order history, right? All that stuff that we can do direct links into Business Central now from within Teams. I think this is an awesome feature to, again, continue to leverage the Teams platform.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've actually considered doing demonstrations like starting in Teams. Like that's been a concept, right? Because right now, like PSA, we reference, like, even internally, we've got a process that'll actually build a team site, and it'll actually create the link to the account. It'll actually create a link to a project as well, as what we're working on for our next iteration with that. So from a team perspective, you access one interface to interact with the client, because technically Teams is all about working on that team, right? So if you have time entry, or if you have just a reference information,
jobs,
exactly, just that job, right? So it'd be a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, so this is a big deal. Don't want to underestimate that one. Really cool feature. All right, regional country support, enhanced region country activity. Kind of nice. I know that there were some enhancements here regarding the Azure data centers. So Satya in the last presentation that we looked at in Inspire, he happened to list a couple countries in passing, Israel being one of them. BC, because of the Azure data center, is now available in countries like Israel, where there are some in-country data storage requirements. So this is a nice enhancements coming with additional countries. We've had some BC users where they have subsidiaries in other countries, need localizations. We're going to be able to do that now. So extended international support for Business Central. It's a big deal. All right. Power Platform, Common Data Service, Virtual Entities. That is the biggest win of this wave, is having that virtual entity back into the Common Data Service. So we've been able to sort of import data into the Common Data Service. Yes, the API has a direct connect to Business Central. It's been fine. It's been functional if you want to, but virtual entities is an awesome feature that we're getting. And then you'll see this integration with Business Central and the Common Data Service. They're also dealing with the synchronization conflicts that are coming up. So awesome. I wish I would have been able to get to it today, had it so that we could show it. I don't have my hands on it yet.
So do the virtual entities, do you know, Marcus, do they allow like read and write by chance? That
is my understanding. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's probably not exactly the same deployment that we looked with finance and supply chain management before. It looks like it's a different deployment method. But I think in practical terms, the ability to have dual write is coming. So.
Well, yeah, it's the first start. And even on the finance and supply chain, they have virtual entities as well that they've added. And Adam, if I recall correctly, that's a concept that's existed inside of CE for a while, right?
Yeah. We talked through them. There was a regional CRMUG meeting last year, and we talked through them and some of the more technical pieces of that, but essentially pointing at a different database and having the same configuration, relationship, form customizations, things like that, like the same configuration capabilities as we would for data living right in CDS, but it's somewhere else. And it's been, I think, in CRM for, I want to say, since 2017. It's been there for a while.
Because I know they've used it with like SQL, right? SQL databases, Azure SQL, all that type of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so that's awesome to me, because what that means is it's going to be stable for us. We're not going to live through the this is a version
growing
1
pains.
feature for Business Central. Yeah, right. So that's great. And then some security related features there. All right, migrations. So Microsoft continues to build out migrations to Business Central Online. Continue enhancements to the GP integration, historical data migration from GP to Azure Data Lake. So that's a cool feature too. Again, it's common here of how do we get data out of SQL directly and get it into the Azure Data Lakes? Well, even historical GP data is moving that way. And then, continued enhancements of the on-prem versions of Business Central to the online versions. Again, I haven't seen specifics on that GP to BC migration yet. I just know that they continue to build out more enhancements there.
Yep. If anyone that has GP, I mean, great product, phenomenal product. It, writing's on the wall. I mean, it has been now for, I think, the last couple of versions that they've been pushing with it. Doesn't mean, that, you can't continue to use it. They're going to support it. But if you're looking at the cloud enablement, they've put a lot of time in those conversions. And if I recall correctly, Marcus, we've got people as well internally that have really made a transition from GP to, for example, BC, and even from the manufacturing and some of those advanced capabilities. They've been pretty happy with the way it's been going for the BC capabilities. As last I talked internally about it, have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah. I think the biggest hurdle, honestly, that GP clients face is the move from a traditional desktop client to a browser.
Yeah, good point.
And I underestimated the browser impact. I thought, everybody does banking online and everything like that, that it just wouldn't be that big of a deal. That seems to be a little bit of a learning hiccup for people. Once they get accustomed to that, it's been fine. But, there are just nuances of working in a browser versus a desktop application.
And they're improving it, right? So that's a good thing to see.
They are, yeah. All right, modern client changes. So updates to page styling, changes to the action bar, and improved well, the first 2 points, those are actually being rolled out already. So these aren't dropping in the big wave. They've been coming in sort of these monthly updates. Most people probably don't even realize it, but it's bringing some consistency in terms of how the application works. So probably not that big of a deal, but it's there. Additional accessibility for low vision users. This is actually an interesting initiative inside of Business Central. There are actually quite a few features already built into the application to help people with vision issues, from color blindness to just low visibility, all sorts of different things. So I'm really glad Microsoft continues to make enhancements in that area. FactBox is more responsive. That is a big deal. Some initial complaints we had from some users were, pages take a little time to load. So Microsoft is again improving how FactBoxes load, et cetera, on the back end. Report request pages can have multiple previews. That's been a long time coming as well. You run a preview report, you got to close it, and you end up back where you were. It's just a nice usability enhancement. Navigation terminology again changes. Role centers running faster, that's fine. Basic authentication deprecating for the contact sync and Outlook. That's just a security thing. We got to get those holes closed. So that just makes sense to do that.
Yep.
Here we go. Access multiple production or sandbox environments from the mobile apps. This is an awesome feature. Right now you log in, you get, you're basically connected to an environment. You cannot easily change between sandbox production environments, et cetera. So being able to do that on the app, I think, is going to just help with the tablet app and the phone app. Page Inspector supports temporary tables. I think that's really more of a developer thing, but that's a significant change as well. The temp table loads, you're not able to inspect it today, but you will be able to. So that's showing you, the fields, et cetera. Development tools. So there's some code documentation comments that have changed. There's a compiler updates that have happened. Delete extension data, supporting some warnings, and then performance on regression and application benchmarking tools. So for those developers out there, Microsoft continues to make enhancements on that platform as well, which is a big deal. It's not just, let's say, application sides; it's on the development side too.
Yeah, it helps enable for all that the new capabilities that we need, obviously.
Yep. All right, so the service itself. Top one, ability for developers and end users to override system setting on report runtime, so I can cancel a running report. That's a big deal. Data audit of system fields. Oh my gosh, how many RFPs have I answered and said, yeah, we can sort of get to that? They're finally adding last updated date, time, and who to all the tables in the system. So every single table is going to have that. It's not going to be setting up the change log to get to that data. Again, we can with the change log, but this is going to just be more direct. It's going to make sense. Logging of admin operations in the Business Central Admin Center. This is a big deal for larger clients that are maybe SOX compliant, that sort of thing. You need to know what's going on.
Yep.
On-demand joining of companion tables. This is a huge deal. So if as a developer, one page, one table, it's been a problem. I'm going to be able to get some companion tables. This is really supporting the smart list functionality, Scott, that you just referenced from GP.
Mm-hmm.
The GP users want some some pages to be able to be developed that honestly you can't exactly do with out of the box BC with these companion table joinings. We're gonna.
Oh, Marcus, your audio went out. Your audio is out. Hey, you can't even hear us. Hey, hey.
Oh no.
Oh no, Marcus, Marcus, Marcus. Audio, audio. We can't hear you, Marcus.
This
These are
is
so...
okay. We didn't realize we didn't have a ton of technical issues going in to today.
There you
like
go.
Last week or last time.
No,
but,
you're not there yet.
We'll hit hiccups. It happens.
Yeah, it's part of
You
it.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh,
There you
all
are.
right.
That was weird.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you either.
Huh.
More technical.
Because we're like waving at you on stream here. Hello, hello.
Hey.
All right, go ahead. We got you, I think, on the companion tables.
Oh yeah, companion table. So support smart list, essentially a GP functionality that's coming over. Debugging, being able to use application insights from a developer's perspective, as well as getting insights from extension publishers. That's just helping with debugging. That's some nice features that are coming there.
Yeah.
Signals can then be sent to by developers into again application insights, etc. Renaming environments, point number 4 there, that's a big deal. So when you set it up and you want to call it something else, we're going to be able to rename those. And then restoring environments to a point in time in the past, that's an awesome feature too. You mess something up and you need to do a data restore. Microsoft is going to enhance that feature too.
Oh, okay, so they're going to allow you to be able to do it.
I don't want to.
ABC.
Yay,
I think we said the term poo poo earlier, and we always work at, making it clear for the audience here. There's never like a weird like rivalry or anything. Like we're all in the same space. We're all doing. We have expertise in these different areas, but I gotta say it. CRM has had this stuff for quite a while, Marcus. No, that's all in good
that
fun.
too.
That's tongue in cheek. That's tongue in cheek.
But
it's true though. When you look at what what CE has, and then you look at what BC as they're moving to a cloud platform was missing. They've had to fill in these gaps, and they're doing that. So that's great.
And I shouldn't say CRM. That's the old CDS.
CDS, right?
It's really exciting. It's really exciting to see these advancements. Was just talking earlier this morning with with a customer, and questions about, well, if everything's on one platform, why do we have to speak about integrations from CDS to BC? Just very, very fine-tooth comb topics and things that come up. And it was more of like a history 101 for Microsoft. Hey, acquiring CRM, acquiring Nav, acquiring AX, acquiring GP and SL, and all the history, and then basically reverse engineering everything, abstracting everything up, and building this really powerful platform underneath everything. So we break down monoliths, and we're speaking the same language. There's a common data model. That's where everything comes from there. This is just one of those advancements. It's really cool to see these waves. That's why we get so hype on these waves, because we're going to see a consolidation of feature sets. We're going to see commonalities in how to configure. We're going to see, executing design, configuration, architecture, integration, user experience. We're going to see a lot of this come together over the next 5-10 years, if we're talking like long-term, like the longer timeline. So, that we see the incremental changes as we're going, and, the space that we live in, being architects and everything, it's exciting. It's super exciting.
Absolutely.
It's the best stuff in the world.
And the funny thing about it, they were doing this back in the day with Project Green. I mean, that's the thing, is that they actually tried to do this after they acquired SL, Nav, GP, and the partner channel erupted. Like, it was the most... I was a youngling at that point in time, is the way I'll say it. But, the politics that were involved with it were just amazing. So it's good to see now, though, that we're finally getting away from the concept of, there's a lot of pride. I mean, it used to be like with Nav, you would bleed blue, right? That used to be a saying that you would actually have. And so a lot of that has really changed now, where we really are looking at the right tools to fit the business process, and no one tool, as you can tell,
You
is
don't
the
bleed blue
best.
anymore?
Huh? No, no, no.
You're not bleeding blue.
I might. I don't know. I don't know. It depends on how much oxygen I have in my blood, I
Well,
guess.
now we can theme everything, so it doesn't matter what you.
Okay, Deb, you're right? Yeah.
Uh,
So, does anyone else think Adam is excited about this? No, Adam, you're not excited at all about this.
I will get so excited. I'll do the hair like the
We'll send you
like
the
I'll
Twitch.
get super.
Marcus, that was awesome. Thank you.
all right.
That's a lot of good content that we got there. So, I guess Adam, you're next because you got the next biggest part, right?
I don't know if I have anything, guys.
Oh, come
I
on.
I might not.
If you
It's
don't
just
have
little-
anything, I've got like 5 minutes and we'll end stream early.
It's little stuff. No, what we've done, we've got a lot to talk through, and there's a lot of really exciting stuff. And some of it is, we've been waiting for this for some time. Some of it is just the nice to have. Hey, wow, I didn't know that they would fit this into Wave 2. That's really cool. Some of it is a tease because it's a carrot at the end of a stick, and it won't even be in preview until October, like the new sales application. The sales mobile application. So there's going to be a dedicated, streamlined, efficient mobile app that's coming around the bend. So like there are things peppered in, and they might be available right now to get your hands dirty with, or they might be opening that door in October. But there's a ton of stuff. So I think I just want to jump in. I've been looking down, if anybody's been noticing, like looking down here, because I'm just collecting thoughts, and I thought I would do the mobile stuff. We're not going to do that today, but a couple of like little things that I want to start out with is, first of all, you may notice on this screen, hey, looks like customer service. That's great, pretty typical. But we don't have the drop down anymore. There's no app selector. Where did that go? Oh, bam, it's right there. So the ability to, in a very nimble way, jump between your apps, for all intents and purposes, it's a very similar experience as we used to have, or that we probably currently have, that you probably currently have.
They took
if you
out the
haven't
down
checked those
arrow,
things.
Adam. They took out the down
They
arrow.
did.
That's it.
But it's this. If you're going to sign up for Dynamics 365 for a single reason, it's this right here. No, I'm joking.
Exactly.
It's just
Love it.
it's
Love
just
it.
cool to be able to like have it's faster, it's snappier.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wanted to jokingly highlight that one, but let's talk through some of the sales stuff. So we've got a couple of timeline enhancements. If we go to, let's go to my recent records here, and we'll. I don't know if anything here is going to work out, so let's go to opportunities. I'm just going to crack open an app that's floating out here somewhere. Maybe we've got some activities in the timeline, maybe we don't, but a couple of new features that are baked in. You can see them right at the top here. So activity suggestions we've had for a little while yet, if you've been in any demo environments, but new control. So collapse all records, expand all records. And if you've got email threads, if you've got email chains that are on a case, say, or if you're trying to make a sale here on an opportunity, we've got the ability to, in one click, boom, everything's cracked open instead of condensed. And we actually even have an additional control here on the right hand side. We go to the ellipses and always show email as conversations, which is a big thing. Historically, we've had to do that ad hoc. Historically, we've had to go in and open them up one by one and see those threads and jump into the email activity and sort of become sleuths and go through that thread and that history. But now we can actually flatly, and I've been saying this with customers and some of the people that we've been engaging with recently, Microsoft is investing so heavily in flat experiences. So instead of navigating away from this form, relying on things like we're relying on things like always show email conversations, and then being able to crack those open with a single click right in that timeline so we can see that. It's just really cool stuff. I'm trying to find a better opportunity here where we might have additional, like I might actually have like an email thread floating in here, but it's not the most important to be able to see that. Just know that we, in the timeline control now, we actually have that. What's more, I think let's go to new form submission. That might be a good one. We've got the enhanced email experience. If people have been in there, you're looking at either some of the new or newer features from Wave 1 in the spring, you're looking at what's coming around the bend here in Wave 2. You may have noticed that.
Sorry, the account got me.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's fun. I actually get really turned around. I stop demo sometimes and I'm like, why did I? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So email opening up in the foreground. We can full screen this. It's on a single tab now, so it's not like we're going between tabs and it's a more disjointed. Now I can whip up an email, set my subject, shouting that O, go in, inject a template. It'll have you choose the field that you want to key in on, whether that's a contact or something else, because the templates are entity specific. So I'm injecting a sample template. I'm just going to go contact reconnect and apply that, and then throw in my signature, because why the heck not? And this is a snappier experience than we're used to. Having this email in the foreground. Having this, again, flat experiences. I don't have to go away. This sounds like a very trivial thing, but it's not something that we've realized in D365 or Dynamics CRM ever. So it's pretty cool. It's more power in the system. And obviously we have like the app for Outlook, and we can embed this in Teams. We can anchor it to channels. So we've got these very, very seamless experiences and access points. But if you're, as a part of your user adoption strategy, really having everybody in the system proper, like we see here, the email experience is going to get better and better and better. And this is one of those steps. So being able to, with a few clicks, inject some template signatures. It's in the foreground. We're not moving away and coming back, saving and closing, marking complete, anything like that, which is pretty nice. So another thing that I wanted to show here is, I wonder if I have it. Let's go to maybe quotes. Let's check out quotes. If you haven't played, one little tidbit here, if you haven't played with the new add products experience, so I'm clicking add products here, we're going to have the window shade from the right hand side, just that really snappy ability to on the fly throw in not just structured product catalog products in one fell swoop, but then include write-ins. So this is so cool. So confab product 1 2 3, we're going to set that price at $5 a pop, but we're going to have 500 of them. We can include write-ins next to the product catalog products in line in one list. If I go to selected here, we can see that this is a consolidated list of both structured products, items from our price lists, as well as write-ins, add opportunity, and that's it. This is a big departure from the classic kind of clunky way to move away to line items, add them individually, come back every single time. It's all in one fell swoop. Right now, it's relegated to opportunities. So as a best practice, try to structure your quoting, like the lines and the SKUs and the pricing at the opportunity level before you move forward. But as soon as you need to get to a new quote, and it's going to pull everything in, and it's just super slick. So this isn't technically a wave 2 enhancement or feature or update. I just wanted to call it out because I don't know how many people are in there and checking it out.
Hey, I got a quick question for you. Have they made it yet so that you can actually do line editing basically inside of any of these controls yet? So like on the actual line, like add products, right?
Yeah, well, what we see here is, well, in line, it's going to be that same experience. If I go back to that opportunity here to add, it will be that window shade pull out. But if we want to edit any of those products, what you see is actually an editable grid right on the form here. So if I wanted to change any of my quantities, tuck that down to 450, go line by line, make those adjustments, and save right here on the main form.
That's awesome. Okay.
So pretty slick stuff. Email experience, convert to PDF. We have for a long time, we want these quotes that are going out the door. We don't want them edited. Word templates are great. Word templates are freaking awesome in Dynamics 365 and Power Apps. But when we're actually distributing this, getting sign off, getting the final stages of sign off for this quote, we don't want any changes. We don't want any edits. So I'll activate this quote here, and you can see at the top, we've got export to PDF, which is awesome. So it will give us this export to PDF wizard. So it'll load up the document templates that we have in the system. This is brand new. This is the brand new experience. So we can save it. We can rename it on the fly. We'll have our templates, the templates that we have available to us, like we have built into the system on the left-hand side. But then what's cool is we also get this preview. So we get this PDF viewer that's embedded in and in the foreground, so I can actually validate what is this going to look like for my customer. And this is the one that's going to be going out the door. So we've got some, editing controls, and we can print this, save this locally, whatever. But just the fact that we have this in the foreground, again, flat experiences, being nimble, we can save to SharePoint right here. If I go click and save to SharePoint, that's going to go to this record SharePoint location, save that there. From here, I can download elsewhere. I can save to the cloud. I can save to my customers' prospects folders, or I can just go ahead and email this as an attachment with a few clicks. It's really slick.
So how many of these features, Adam, are actually live right now? Because I think Britt was curious on when can we get our hands on these that you're kind of showing. Are a lot of these already being rolled out? They GA towards the end of August, September? Do you know?
My knee jerk is always GA. Look for it on October 1st.
Okay.
But Microsoft, for some of these more involved pieces, Microsoft does tend to put stakes in the ground in October 1st and then have it like GA in November, December.
Yep.
Sometimes even as late as January 1st. So
We're seeing
I
that
can't
with
promise.
Business Central too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I can't promise that this is going to be GA, fully baked, no issues. I can say that it's really cool to start seeing this and start playing with it, and it's a huge boon to teams.
Yep.
What else did I want to? Oh, forecast features. If you haven't been playing with forecasts, I highly recommend it. So, I think gone are the days of piecemealing homegrown charts, and it's great. And we're going to get back to charts and Power BI here in a second, but forecasts in the system, being able to structure org chart based forecasts. So you can see here, I'm the Dave Stallman of these people right here, and I've got my teams, and those people have teams and direct reports. But we can set quotas. We have our best case committed, lost, omitted, overall pipeline, the actual one percentages dollars. But we can structure these forecasts against products, so product sales or by territory. And there are some custom forecast configurations now available too. But what's really, really cool here that I wanted to show is if I click into these cells, we're going to get this fly out from the bottom, and if I expand this, what it's doing is calculating all the roll-ups. So we have different actions we can take. We can change the view that we want to be able to take a look at. And what's really neat, if I show this as a Kanban board, this is where we can actually set this into different categories of the forecast. So drag and drop, where these opportunities are. And if they're, if we get verbals on any new projects, we can go, what, they're committed. And, we can start to structure the cadence and the process and the appropriate place these opportunities should be living in a very visible fashion, in a very visual layout with the Kanban board, which is sick. So this is not, again, the Kanban board and what I just showed is not wave 2, but we do have some enhancements when it comes to forecast by way of writing this discrete data to CDS. So we don't have to rely on a flashy tool that's living in a corner of D365 sales. We can do our own, querying and chart building and a number of, taking that raw data and doing with it what we will based on what you see here and based on some of these more advanced features within the forecasts.
Yep.
One thing I'm going to flip over actually let's go to the customer service hub, and I will show one of the things that I'm really, really excited about that I didn't know about before, I think last week, because I had admittedly been complaining that we have these there's this getting to the unified interface. People are still on the traditional web client, and we need to get people to the unified interface. So now Microsoft is rolling out a unified interface integration. I think it's an integration helper, or not integration, a migration, or that switch, a helper tool for that. And one of the things that I think probably came along with the genesis of that tool is if I go into service management here. So again, I'm in the customer service hub. I've moved away from sales. If I go down to, where is it here? Yeah, automatic record creation and SLA migration tool. This is so awesome because we've built these. If you have any existing automatic record creation rules, maybe it's not for case, maybe it's for a custom entity, or maybe it's for something else, a different out-of-the-box entity, or you have service level agreements that were structured with the classic way of doing it. We now have the ability to not just see the the discrete records in aggregate from one spot, but then there's a helper to build, because there are more dimensions, especially with SLAs and like SLA KPI items and a number of other pieces that play into those. There are probably three primary hierarchy levels in setting up those SLAs. Okay. So we're abstracting those service level agreements to 3 layers. And what this tool does is take your logic and take your SLA compliance logic and build that, take it from more of a flat sort of object and parse that out into the layers that are required for that SLA. So it's really cool to be able to see this in the service configuration. Couple of other pieces here. I'm not going to demonstrate them today, but 2 things that are pretty big when it comes to Power Platform. One is the ability, now we have the ability to embed, if I go back to home here, embed Power BI dashboards on system dashboard, or Power BI reports on system dashboards. Historically, we've only been able to, if I go to a new dashboard here, as I'm an end user in the system and I go to Power BI dashboard, this is great, but we would have to build user dashboards and then share those across the team. Now we can actually embed these PBI reports and dashboards in a single space, on its system dashboard that we can serve and control from an admin perspective. So that's pretty nice. And then I know it's been talked about quite a bit in the channel, but full web API CRUD capabilities for Power Apps portals. That's huge, because we're getting closer and closer to portal apps having parity, like feature parity with model-driven apps and Canvas apps. So that we have full CRUD with portal apps is pretty huge.
And with a couple portals, is there anybody that's done any templates with that yet to start pushing that forward? Are they starting to package more solutions by chance with portals, like a customer portal, kind of out of the box? Have you heard anything on that?
I mean, we have. If you go to your Maker portal and you go to your apps, and I want to spin up a new portal app, what I usually do is go to create. I mean, under the create here, you're going to have some of those templates. So if I scroll down here, you're going to see like a community portal, customer self-service,
and the partner
employee, so we definitely have templates as a starting block, and that's how I usually recommend getting your hands dirty with portal applications and portal technology, is just start from what Microsoft kind of has served up to you and see how that looks and feels, because then you can get a better idea of how liquid tags work, on the front end, or how to write JS, jQuery, like use some of the classic web development tools with the configuration of Power Apps portals. So these templates are a fantastic way to just kind of start that journey.
Yep.
Gentlemen, I've got a demo at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna have to duck out early here and get my system reset. Time changes. We got demos on both ends today.
Yeah, exactly. It's been pretty crazy. Well, Marcus.
All right. Hey,
talk
have
to you
a good
later,
one, guys.
See you, Marcus.
A couple of other things, Scott. Speakers. Yeah.
You know that I am super passionate about Power Virtual Agents.
Not at all. So, you gotta be kidding me. I've never heard that before.
You've
never heard you talk about it.
Bot in my life. What's a bot?
What's a bot?
So one thing I wanted to call out here, well, 2 things I wanted to call out and demonstrate. One thing I wanted to call out and just speak to. We do have the ability to build Alexa skills. So if you're using the extension of the bot framework and getting into some of the more robust or enterprise bot modeling, we now have the ability to, I'm pretty sure it's going to be in preview for a little while, but build Alexa skills. So we can use the power of Power Virtual Agents with voice as a user interface, voice as a UI, and use the Echo to call Power Virtual Agents and use what we've built there. So that's really cool. But in terms of demonstration here, I actually want to show that we now have, if you go to your bot settings, so make sure you're in the right bot. I'm in a customer support bot. I'll go to, I think it's in system fallback. So a new feature here, and it is in preview, but you can set a fallback topics, and it explains it here if you go in there. But if you try, I think twice, like 2 or 3 times to engage a bot, and it's just not recognizing what the need is or what kind of help it can give you, we now have the ability to set a fallback. So if everything fails, usually we would be able to, or usually I think the default was to transfer to a live agent if you're using Omnichannel for customer service. Here we can use and go to the fallback topic. It's a system topic, so you won't be able to update any of the trigger phrases or anything, but it's the catch-all. If nothing works and we still don't want to transfer to a live agent, we can set the fallback. Here is just the default. One moment, let me get you more help with whatever that initial phrase was, which is nice. And this is more of like productivity and just making sure we have all of our bases covered as we're engaging our bots. The other thing I wanted to show is that we can actually theme our bots now, which is really cool. There's documentation out there. I'm not going to walk through the nitty gritty because it is code based. But I'll bring up one that it's just like the sample code that Microsoft gives you here. In the foreground, here is a themed bot. We our demo website. If you're building these bots, you're going through the ins and outs of testing it. They have that kind of turquoise green look to it. They've got a very, very particular look and feel for PVA.
Yep.
Now we can theme this. So if you're savvy with HTML, CSS, or you want to use some of the bot framework, more technical pieces to theme this, enterprise deployments, etc., we can break away from this. I need help. Just queuing up the bot to take a look at how it usually looks. But if we go ahead and crack open that other window that I had, this is where this is just a flat black with some more contrasting colors and things like that. But we can start to theme these, so we don't have to engage a deep technical team to start making these look and feel like home, which is really slick.
Oh yeah, especially if you're doing embedding, right? I mean, if you're going to do embedding in an application or a website, you want it to look like your theme. If it's not a part of it, it kind of looks hokey, right? Like I go to a website, and if I have a chatbot, I don't want to start typing into it if it doesn't look like it's part of the website. So yeah, that makes sense.
For sure. So my final call out here is if you go to your Maker portal and you go to export to data lake, because we've covered this a number of times in terms of tapping into machine learning and looking at raw data and making assumptions and drawing trends and conclusions from just mass quantities of data. One thing that I'm really excited about, and I can't demonstrate it right now because I don't have a storage account set up. I think my trial expired in Azure, unfortunately, but we actually have the ability to export audit information to the data lake, which is huge because people often want to look at audit reports. So using the raw audit information, we can actually export that to Gen 2 now, ADLS Gen 2, and that's really exciting. To continue to crack open the audit table, the very the spine, the backbone, that and a few other tables on the back end have historically been pretty inaccessible. So I know I've talked for a long time. I'm gonna shut up.
No, it was good content. Just quite frankly, when we start looking at what we have left over here from the finance and supply chain side, there hasn't been a lot that they've added in terms of the new capabilities to the application. And what I mean by that is that they've done a lot of investment inside of already the technologies that they had been rolling out. So like the dual write capability, they added to that. There's a couple of them that are cross application that I just wanted to highlight because I think they're just easier usability enhancements that we're seeing with the 10.0.13, if I remember correctly, for that release. And so just to kind of highlight that, I've got an environment up and running right here. Shout out to our leverage team as well, making a phenomenal product that we were going through some demonstrations with today as well. But the really cool thing that they're implementing is that grid control capability. So an example is on our grids, on our older grids. So if I go to see if I can open up another environment in the background here. This environment, for example, doesn't have that grid control integrated inside of it. So when I go into, for example, my all sales orders, and you look at the grid control with it, it looks pretty standard, right? There's nothing really bad about it. You've got the ability to sort and filter and things of that nature. But what they've done now is that they've taken this grid control and made it more intuitive and dynamic. So before, if you wanted to move something, just to highlight this, I could add columns. They added that as well. But if I wanted wanted to personalize that particular value, I'm going to go ahead and clear that. I'm going to go ahead and personalize it after I get out of that error message. And then what would happen is I'd go ahead and personalize the form. So I've already gone through a couple steps. Then I click on move. Then I click on the field to move. And then hopefully it highlights the field when I do the move. Sometimes it doesn't, right? So there's all these steps that you have to go through to move a field. Watch this. Move a field. I just moved it. Just drag and drop, right? So this, very basic, very nice though, very easy to use in terms of that aspect. Some of the other key things that they did as well with this. So that grid control, they didn't stop there. They decided to add a little bit more to it. So on, for example, our all sales orders, if I go into that, you can see here that I've got grouping that I've set up with it. So on these controls, when I right click them, I can actually go ahead and group or ungroup, and I can also do totaling. So if I have dynamic values that I want to actually total within the group, I can basically go ahead, add it to here, and then do the totaling that's related to it. So this grid control, as you can see, really is starting to show up everywhere. So this environment has that control, and then basically on my all customers, so I haven't gone and enabled anything other than going into that feature management area to enable it. But if I go to my all customers, you're going to see that grid control show up in here as well, where you can start just easily moving things around and interacting with it.
That's really slick.
Yeah. So it's kind of basic.
I imagine we'll get, we talked about consolidation of experience and configuration and everything. There are some features we've already seen in D365 customer engagement apps where we can not do quick sorting column by column, but then go into discrete filters and build filters and fill that querying, and then the enhanced some of the searching capabilities and querying capabilities we have right in that view. A lot of those queues on a column by column basis were taken from AX, or were taken from finance supply chain. So that's really exciting.
Yep. So they're adding quite a bit in that regard. The views then as well. So the saved views, this is a feature that's been out there for a little while now. They've extended that to now work as well with this grouping, with filters as well if you want to. So you can basically go through in that grid control, save the view related to it, and then when you actually re-access this, so if I just say, for example, grid by customer group as an example, I can save it and I can pin it as default. Now, as I go through and then navigate into other areas and go back into that view, for example, I can go ahead and then click on that grid group by customer, and then boom, it actually respects all of those setups that you did from that perspective as well. So just really, really, nice to be able to do that. Mr. Rude joined us today. Rude.
I saw that.
I know, I saw it. I'm like, hey.
Popped in to say good work, guys.
Thanks,
Rob.
appreciate it. So yeah, that beyond that, just to kind of cover just some of the other features, just at a high level, I really recommend going to here. Task Recorder, they've made it now so as part of the basically the testing lifecycle that you can have when you're using our actual task recorder. It can detect whether or not a field is editable enabled, so that way you can have some more testing logic built into that based off of conditions on whether or not that field is editable or not. For the core app functionality, really the big one that they did, that they focused on, was that common data service phase 3, and that's pretty huge, because what they're doing is they're taking, in this example, they've got the commerce capabilities that they've been extending. So when we're talking about the global address book, the party model, mapping that into the entities as well, then in the common data service, that's a pretty huge undertaking in itself.
Party fields.
Exactly, right?
Regarding
Yep.
party, those special
huge.
snowflakes.
Yeah, exactly. There's a special world for all of that. So, that's a big thing that they've done for it. The functionality in terms of finance, though, like if we just really look at it, there's not a lot. I would say the big one that they've been working on is that they're trying to get this planning optimization capability out the door that's going to replace our material requirements planning capability. And they're trying to get product parity with that, because it's a new modern way of being able to incorporate changes. If you've ever made customizations to MRP, you know how horrible it is to try to do that. So they're really trying to build a more modern way of allowing for us to be able to make changes to the planning engine. And really, the other area that they focused on was the RFQ polishing, so the request for quotation capabilities. Vendor bidding is another way that we always look at that as well. So those have been kind of some of the major areas that they had. One I did want to pick on, though, that I found kind of funny, Adam, manual sales line picking, and this is the description that they put in for it. This feature allows administrators to manually pick inventory transactions related to sales lines. Well, that's great. Well, administrators should only do this in exceptional cases such as when the system is in a corrupted state. We have a
What?
feature. I know. I read that and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So, there are some very interesting features that they're
I'm
adding.
not sure I tracked that one.
I don't either, right? That's where, you have a pick document for some reason that's not generating a pick in the background for you. So you're not being told to go grab that inventory to ship it, basically. So if you are a customer that's facing that at this point, which I have not heard of, but if you are, they're going to have a solution to be able to help through that. So they're really working on a lot of these refinements to be able to catch the exceptions and basically drive that new functionality. So I would expect with our 2021 Wave 1, we're going to see a lot more in terms of the platform because this is more of a maintenance release from the finance and supply chain management perspective.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I missed along the way is some of the Power Automate enhancements too. So slightly better experience when you're crafting any flows, as well as some of the refinements being made in RPA. So UI flows when you're building them. The first stab at our UI flows was a little clunky. It took a little bit of finessing to get those scripts in place and to get exactly what you need. As it's going through those client moves and clicks and all the activities and everything. So I haven't tested it, so I can't validate this, but I've seen out there, and it's the expectation is that is a little bit more of a seamless experience with that the test automation stuff they have built into that.
Yeah, and the copy and paste, it looks like, too. That UI flow, it is pretty slick on how they're able to do that. So they'll continue to improve that. And for some of those legacy applications, you don't have to create a complex integration with it. You can just do a UI flow to tackle it. So it's always a good thing to see the investment in there. So.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So that's what I had today. If you want to drive us home, Scott, my geeky deliciousness for today is I have to have my headset off. So bring us home. Drive us home.
I can't. Of course, Marcus left, and now I'll Marcus in memory. I have him here as well. So, and of course, Adam's got to get his new headset enabled with it. So, guys, we're at time. It's 1:05. Nice. There we go. He's got a mask even. Is that he can't hear me. So anyways, we're just going to watch him in the background. So anyways, guys, thanks again for joining. We had a lot of fun today to go through this functionality. Obviously, we're going to be diving deeper in the future here and some of the other topics. I've not had time to look through all of that yet. I don't know. Sabrina, of course, like clockwork. It looks like September 10th, we've got our field service comparisons from 10 to 11. So 11 o'clock on September 10th, back to our normal time. So we're going to be going through our field service comparisons. And that should be quite a bit of fun. We're going to look at some of the different capabilities that we have on field service and just really dive into that. So thanks again, guys. Have fun, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks here. Bye.
It seems the company I work for, Stoneridge Software, has been named a best place to work by Minnesota Business Magazine. I wonder if there's some sort of company paradigm that's enabled us to earn this distinction. Let's find out.
I'm back.
Handsome
now.
fellow. Scott? Scott? Scott?
Yes, Matt?
I'm wondering if you can shed some light as to why Stoneridge Software is such a great place to work.
Family is important to both me and Stoneridge Software. And so with our paternity time, I was able to take 4 weeks and spend it with my wife and daughter.
Delightful. Josh? Josh? Josh?
Josh isn't in the office today. Do you need him for something? I've got him right here.
Hey, Matt, what can I do for you?
I'm conducting a survey. I'm wondering why Stoneridge Software is such a great place to work.
Well, I live at the lake, about 200 miles from the office, so I really appreciate that I can work remotely.
The view is optimal. Catherine? Catherine? Catherine?
Yes, Matt?
I'm doing some research on Stoneridge Software. I wonder why it's such a great place to work.
I try to incorporate health into my lifestyle, so I am so excited about the new wellness campaign that Stoneridge just initiated. We get reminders twice a day for stretching. Oh, it must be that time. Oh, and we have great health insurance.
After some cursory research, I believe the inference is justified. The atmosphere at Stoneridge Software is conducive to being a great place to work.
Enjoy your